Let's see, hello. Uh, Hillary, our daughter, who lives outside of Fort Worth, just ordered a delivery of stuff to us. Here's what I got. Chicken wings. Not sure what, I'm going to need something to wipe my hands on. And then there's also pizza and pizza. I need a napkin. Anyway, I'll be right back. Don't touch the mouse. I'm coming back. I just hooked up that Roku TV. I've had it a long time. It's not a 1080p. It's what? 720. I usually hook it up for a day or two. Well, usually not even a day or two. I hook it up for a few hours and I put it back in the closet. Whoops. Whoops. I'm going to go back to eating. Don't touch the mouse. I'll be back. Okay. Man, I'm not sure if it's one or two. Well, I know it's at least one fly. Man, it was aggressive. I mean, it just, you know. So I took my dish in the other room and washed it out and put it in the dishwasher. So maybe that fly will stay out of my room. Let's see. I got a new. Let's see, for the Razor, no, it was for the audio wavelength 3. You got to wavelength 3. I got an announcement there was a upgrade to it, and so I thought that's great. So, and I clicked on upgraded, and then it really didn't do anything. It came back. I can't remember now what it came back with, but I don't think that. But it looks like. I mean, it looks like the mic and everything is still working. It got to wave 3, but it didn't. I don't like the way YouTube does their free movies. I mean, it has to do with the like the labeling. I mean, the line underneath there, it should be the name of, there should be the name of the movie, and then whatever they want to say. And well, can you see? Yeah, you can see this one, and they do it all that way. Underneath there is the finest military film starring Richard Widmark. And somebody who's ever get the name of the movie first, and then put what you want to put after that crap. And now I've probably seen this movie probably. But now, by the way, Tora is an excellent, excellent movie. Remarkable. The Horse Soldiers is good too. Downfall, I think that's the one I'm thinking of, you know. Because there's a bunch of those, you know, Hitler's Last Days and stuff like that. The Train was an okay movie, if that's the one I think it is, of the Germans in France loading the trains up with, you know, great art from, you know, Paris and everything. And the Union, you know, workers of the railroad, you know, doing what they can to keep that stuff from being taken, you know, back to Germany. I think that's the one. So, what else? Let's go to CNN. That what do you call it? The diving thing that went down to, you know, I think there was, what, 5 people? Or was it 6? You know, that died instantly. Thing over here, story on CNN. Let's see. None of the top 10 most livable cities for 2023 are in the U.S. And I think in the past, unless they have a different, you know, category for, if this is the same survey that's done like every year, and I think Australia has at least the top 2 are Australian, you know, cities, and maybe the top 3. Let's go ahead and take a look and see. It's nicknamed the City of Dreams, and it seems the Austrian capital may just be a dream place to live. Huh. Well, maybe this ranking is different than those others. The rankings of the world's most livable cities for 2023 has just been released. Vienna has come out on... Okay, so this is a different list. Because every year, like I said, Australia is 1 and 2 on the list. So this is a different list. Okay. While, maybe not. While Australia's Melbourne and Sydney have dropped down the list in recent years, with Sydney dropping out of the top 10 recently, and Melbourne tying for 10th place with Japan's Osaka in 2022, both have shot back up, taking in the 3rd and 4th places respectively. Canada was represented this year with 3 of its cities. Calgary, I think I hate computers. Canada was well represented this year with 3 of its cities, Calgary, Vancouver, and Toronto, landing a spot in the top 10. Meanwhile, Switzerland received 2 top 10 entries, with Zurich taking 6th place and Geneva tying for 7th place with Calgary. And so it goes. In my life, well, not counting, I'm not going to count. During World War II, my parents and I was born in 1941. We were in California during World War II. Both my parents worked building Liberty ships. They were both boilermakers, welders. So then, I'm not going to count living in a. Anyway, we came back to Kansas City, Missouri. So, Kansas City, Missouri I lived there until 2000. And now there was a summer that I spent in Barnwell, South Carolina, when my father was working on the nuclear power plant there, again as a boilermaker and as a welder. So I spent a summer there. That was interesting. I think that's the only place in the United States that this is when I was, in grade school, where the other kids like, what state are you from? If I'd have said New York or California, they probably wouldn't have been so friendly with me. But I said Missouri, and Missouri was a state. I think they had Missouri, I think, had a star on the Confederate flag, but Missouri legislature or whatever, if I'm correct, I believe, voted to, leave the Union and join the Confederacy. And immediately there were Union troops there that went in and that put a stop to that. But I think the star still appeared, I think, on the Confederate flag, I believe. So then, I lived for a little bit over a year in Orlando, Florida. And then it was to Texas, and lived for over a year in forget the name, Carrollton. And then I went back to I actually moved for a little tiny bit, but to a small town in Texas, and because the ex-wife had bought one, and a nice house. It was really nice, and it had a perfect place for me. I think they call them like a granny situation or whatever. It was, like a separate thing, and there was a, dining room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, and that was nice. But now I wasn't there very long, because the ex-wife and I was paying, the rent and what have you, and she was, of course, buying the food, and then she was also, with her money, buying things that were needed, like a refrigerator and couch and that kind of stuff. But now she would deny this, but but since we were new there, and of course I was low profile or whatever, so I was paying for the rent and everything, or the house payment. And the religious people or whatever found out somehow that she was I gotta do my thing here. Living with her ex-husband, and they said some things to her, and she decided then that she wanted me out of there. And I can remember her, I was in my quarters there, and I can remember I heard her calling, "Get your fat ass out of here! I want you out of here!" And I could hear my son, grown son. I mean, I think he's probably, I'm not sure, 18, 19, 20, I'm not sure. Him telling her, "But Mom, Dad's paying the rent. He pays, we can't make it without him." And she says, "I don't care, I want him out of here." So I went to Miami with my son, Ken, and later Russell, my grandson, joined us down there. And we were there, I think, for about, 3.5 years. I worked for about a year at, or 2 years, I think, at a mall, a nice shopping mall. And it was right across, I always, it was like right across, it was like a canal, and then there was a walking bridge you could go over. And so from the apartment, place, I'd go just cross over the bridge, I'd be right at work. But, and so, entered in through the food court, came home through the food court. And I thought, in the beginning, that was fantastic, food court. But then after a while, you get used to it, and it's like, no big deal. And there's at least a couple of movies that are out about security guard and that's what I was doing, at a shopping mall. And of course, it's a comedy. And there's at least 2 movies like that. And you know something? That was about accurate. That was something else. It was like no part of security that I ever had anything to do with in the past. And then I quit and went to work at CompUSA, and I loved that. I was the only one. Well, actually, when they hired me in, there was a black, fairly young lady and me. And I think they'd had somebody else, anyway. And then all of a sudden, after a week or less, and she was gone because I don't think she was doing any work. And then I was the only one doing the pricing of the products. They didn't put the price on the product, it was on the shelf or whatever. So, and I enjoyed doing that, but then my prostate problems and my urinary problems started, and I had to quit. And but I got the manager to hire my grandson in, and I wondered how my grandson would do, Russell. I wasn't sure that he would be able to, he's very smart. And he has now, later on, he has a degree, I think he has 2. I know he has 1, and I think it's a master's, I think. And I might be wrong on that. But I wondered how he would be able to, deal with the other people. And before long, he was one of the managers. He was in charge of the receiving dock and the largest group of employees that they had, the stockers and ones that did that. Except there was a business area there, and they had a bunch of people that worked there that wore like suits, and they went out to places like Key West or whatever. And those guys would come back and talk about going down to Key West, and they said it's like the people down there don't use computers, they use typewriters. I mean, it was like that's what they were saying or whatever. Actually, when the three of us, my son and grandson, we went down to Key West. We went to, finally went to different places, state parks, or maybe one of them was a federal park. I don't know. Went to places like that, so we got out a little bit. And was there about 3.5 years, and then I could see my grandson, when we came here, then back to Texas. Well, my son, he stayed. He'd got his degree in air traffic control, to be an air traffic controller. But then Bush was president, and the air traffic control people, there wasn't enough of them. They were working overtime, which they should not do. It's a very stressful job, but it was a great job if you got it. And but what President Bush did was he changed, like, when you would graduate and have your degree from the college, and then you had to take a test, and if you passed that test, then you'd be, you could go to the air traffic control school. And in the past, the way it worked, but as soon as you were hired in to go to the school, you were making air traffic controller pay. But President Bush didn't want these people to be in the union right away, and wanted to do everything he could to, and so and two, like the people in the past, you went to this small town someplace, and for the school, but you were making air traffic controller pay, and they paid you a stifling or whatever they call it. Of course, they paid for your motel room, they paid for your food, all kinds of stuff, but Bush wouldn't allow that, and so you were hired, but you had to pay for your own motel, you had to pay for your own food, you had to, and it was that kind of stuff. So my son said no, wasn't going to do it after all that time in school and getting that degree. But he did end up not an air traffic controller, but sort of. He worked for, forget the name. Anyway, they had the contract for the people who did communications with weather, and doing weather, and if you were a pilot, you would call in or use a computer and log in and give your I forget what they call it, your where you were going and that type of stuff. And you could also, of course, call in and change your type, I don't know all what he did, but he didn't like it. But he was making good pay for that, pretty good pay, but not making, so the Republican Party, I tell you, they've always been bad, but they haven't been insane and crazy the way they are now, and they haven't been, deranged, I guess, is the thing. So I don't know, I hope things, change. The government needs to work. I mean, when Obama was elected president, the entire Republican Congress, House and Senate, went out on the Capitol steps and announced right away, I'm not sure if they announced it, probably not the election time, but when he was sworn in or whatever, they went out and said, we're going to make sure that President Obama is his, 4 years. It is that he won't be reelected. We're going to make sure of that. We're going to make sure that there's not one thing passed by him. We won't pass anything by him. We're going to make sure he's a total failure. And I was like, God damn. I mean, all those, and that's what they did for 4 years. They didn't do anything except, I don't know how many times, 900 times or hundreds and hundreds of times they voted to repeal Obamacare, and they didn't get it repealed. They also didn't have a replacement for it because they knew, it. And then Obama was reelected, and I don't think the Republicans came out. They let the word be known, and it was, for those 4 years, they did very little to accomplish it. So there's 8 years wasted of things if they'd have been working together, but you couldn't work with the Republicans. Well, a little bit was done. Obama got some stuff done, but so anyway. Okay. So Russell and I came back to Texas, and the ex-wife was living in this apartment complex, and I'd ask her, where are you living there? What kind of, and she said, well, it's a pretty good place or whatever. So I rented upstairs from her. I didn't request to be upstairs from her. There was an opening upstairs. These are, I think there's 8 apartments in this thing. I should know each unit. And I forget how many units there are. I counted them one time and did some math in my head, approximately how many people are, in here or whatever. But then I rented upstairs from Darlene and my grown son downstairs. And so, they had a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. And upstairs, that's where we had 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. But I eventually, after I forget how long, I checked with the, I saw that it was available. In fact, it was one on the front. It was 2 bedroom, 2 bath. And I asked and she said, oh, well, it's already, rented. I'm sorry. And I said, oh. And she said, but the one on the back is available. I said, I didn't know that. I said, I've never seen it. And she said, she brought me over and I looked, and everything. So I said, well, I think I'm interested, but I got to ask my grandson. So I asked him, and he said, no, this is fine. And I said, hey, it's $100 more, and 2 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms. And I answered, and I said, Russell, okay, come with me, And I showed it to him. And I said, it's just $100 more. I said, how about you pay the $100, just $100. He wasn't paying anything, And he said, okay. So I think he paid for a couple months or something rather, and I wasn't about to, hey, give me, just if he's gonna be that way, So anyway, he did really well again because he is smart, and he hired in at the mall at Sears. And so just about right away, he was a manager and a higher up manager and whatever of the thing. And then, of course, the news was, after I don't know how long, that Sears was going totally out of business. And then they kept giving him promotions, and then they said, okay, there's this place, And by that time, of course, his mother had moved from Sweden, over here. And well, I think that's before. No, she got here okay. So then it was. They offered him a big mandatory, job at this Sears. That was in another, close by, but it was like a suburban town, right next to Dallas or whatever. And I said, and I said, just quit. They're going out of business and whatever. And no, he took the job and moved over there, and then right away they did away with that job. And so his mother, helped him. Well, while he was working actually there, she helped him with the motel thing or whatever. And then he moved in with her. So anyway, thanks very much for watching. I really am enjoying this camera, the Razor, and it's the video is very good on it. And so far I haven't messed anything up, I don't think, with this. Every time let's see, I think the microphone might be a little far away. I've got it setting. That's right. Let's see. Right here. But I think it probably should be. Well, I had it one time like over here, well, not here, but in the same, man, you can really hear me. Well, I hooked a different, I think I'm going to change it again. I just hooked up a different keyboard. And actually, one reason I wanted it, well, it's a little smaller. Let's see if I can raise it up here with it. Now, there you go, yeah. A little bit, no, but let's see if I can go around this way. Oops. Well, I guess I could bend it down a little bit. Yeah, this is Spectra Pro blacklit mechanical keyboard, and this is one I bought a few years ago. It has the cable is a Type C that plugs into the back of the keyboard. But one reason I hooked it up was that when I got it, I figured out how to make the keys just the colors that I wanted them. And then whatever I did something, and I can't figure out now how to get the keys away before well, anyway. So now I'm not sure. I've got 2 or 3 keyboards laying on my bed over there, and I think I'm going to switch to one of the other keyboards. But I do like I think this is the first keyboard, where I've had the cable, that wasn't hardwired in there, I think. And I do like the Type C going in there. So, anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please, give a thumbs up, subscribe, do something. And thanks for watching the videos.